Hi, just while I'm editing this, I've noticed that of course the camera focus isn't great, so rectifying that in future videos.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm an IT trainer, which is a job I've been doing since 2010, and I've taught a lot of people on a lot of different topics. My aim has always been to enable them to use the tech they already have to make things as easy as possible for them. As I've gone along, I've noticed definite patterns in how people use their tech, but also how they're introduced to it. And that's what I want to talk about in this podcast. But let's start at the beginning. I used to work for a company who sold access to what is now called big data. Customers logged into a website where they found a lot of information pertaining to a particular industry. And the site worked really well. My job was to call new customers and run them through how the site worked. I was in that job for about 3 years. And in that time, I ended up training people on other stuff, not just how to use the website itself. For example, one of the features of the site that you could choose which information you were most interested in and extract it into a spreadsheet. Very useful. But quite a lot of the people I was training then needed to know how to use the spreadsheet. So when I got made redundant, I already knew that there would be demand for training on most aspects of IT, not just for workplaces, but at home too. And for context, this was around the time the iPad was first released, so handheld devices were just becoming more prevalent. Most of my business is now visiting people at home. I help with smartphones, iPads, tablets, smart TVs, laptops, printers, memory sticks, emails, WhatsApp, cloud storage, the list goes on. My business is called Easy PC Tuition, pun absolutely intended. I'm still aiming to help people make the most of what they've already got. Making it easy PC was at first a big pull. People who were struggling want someone to come and make things easy, right? Well, until the last few years, I've been doing pretty well at that, if I do say it myself. I could quite confidently say to someone who's called me in a panic, "Don't worry, I'll pop over, put the kettle on, we'll have it behaving itself in 20 minutes. But for the last few years, it's much harder to say that. Things have got way more complicated. And that's another topic I want to explore in this podcast. Why it's so tricky now and what sort of thing actually helps. I'm based here in beautiful North Wales. Isn't it something? There's 250 miles of coastline here. It's a haven for holidaymakers, hospitality, outdoor enthusiasts, beach lovers, explorers, and of course, retirees. In general, it has to be said, this area is around 30 years or so behind much of the rest of the country. We don't have the same infrastructure as much of England, for example, and we have a relatively aged population, with almost a quarter of those who live here being over 60. This has meant that, although we are beginning to catch up with the infrastructure as fibre internet is rolled out, the population has been relatively slow in keeping up with the use of technology. The main issue with this, as I've seen it, is not being able to communicate with family and friends. Those who come to North Wales to retire have likely moved further from their families. Those who have grown up here, had their families here, would likely have remained here when their children grew up and moved away for work or university. Either way, there's some distance between the ageing population of North Wales and those they want to stay in touch with. So the solution becomes using tech to keep in touch. Problems start when, for example, something works inconsistently from how the older person is used to it working. Perhaps something gets updated and the buttons look different, or maybe a disability begins to show itself and makes a one simple task much harder to accomplish. So many problems are created by accidentally pressing something, then not being able to tell what you pressed or how to reverse it. Those sorts of things are where I come in. But here's where I have a bit of an advertising problem. People don't find me online because they're not there yet. That's why they want me. I have a website, but when it's visible on Google, I usually get sales calls and advertising requests. I've had a few people find me online over the years, but they're in the minority. While I've been in business, my best advertising was in print, as you might expect. But sadly, that advertising channel is now delivered to its audience in a very different way, so it stopped working for me. I'm lucky to have a good customer base who come back to me every so often and even refer me to people they know. I also try to keep my social media up to date so that if someone does use Google to search for help, I still appear and I still look like I'm an open business. With this podcast, I'm aiming to get to the families and neighbours of those older people who might be looking for help with their tech, especially those who have tried to help out but maybe it doesn't go so well, or you end up getting into deeper water than the original problem seemed to require. I'll talk about the patterns I see time and time again, both in terms of how people try to help and how people want to use their devices. And I'll talk about what actually does help, why things get so hard, and ways to work around things. If you're still with me, if you've watched this far, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.